Hello, Internet listeners. Or should I say, do you think I look like Humphrey Bogart? Welcome to the Caged Men podcast. My name is Cody Bridges, and I am in a prison of my own making. I am on a quest to watch every movie that Nicolas Cage has ever acted in. But I am not alone. Today I am joined by a new cellmate. Kate, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Kate Everson, formerly of the Slumber Party Sim Club, if you ever took a listen to that podcast with Katie Edward. I am a writer, and I am also a leadership and development coach with Make Change Coaching.
Very nice to have you on the show. Kate and I go way back, farther than it's polite to say.
Oh, come on. I think this makes year 20 of our friendship because we were like in freshman year. So yeah, we've known each other as of this week, 20 full years.
Unreal. That is nuts. So
sorry.
Who else but you to wind up in this situation with me behind the proverbial Nick Cage bars? And we are on downswing today. And boy, did it feel like jail this time, guys. I don't want to spoil it. This episode, we are going to talk about the 2016 release, Dog Eat Dog. Dog Eat Dog is a movie written by Paul Schrader and directed by Paul Schrader, written by Matthew Wilder. I almost had those flipped. And starring Nicolas Cage, Willem Dafoe, and a lot of bad decision making, just on the whole.
We did forget one writer in there, Edward Bunker. He wrote the original novel, and you would recognize him. He's actually a face you would recognize for being Mr. Blue in Reservoir Dogs. And also being in The Longest Yard, and also being in Runaway Train. So I guess maybe eventually we'll have to have the conversation on this episode about should actors become novelists, and should novelists adapt their own work?
That is a terrific question. And this movie may not be the best case study to answer that question.
No. Dog Eat Dog, and it was a hard one to swallow. Yeah.
Yeah, but before we get too far into that, this is, as I've said before, a scientific podcast. We are doing a survey to study everybody's mental state. It's a longitudinal study, so there's three survey questions I'd like you to answer. The last of which will be asked of you again if you choose to return. Which after this one, I truly don't blame you if you decide you don't want to. So, but let's not color these results too much by talking about the bad times. So I'm going to give you 3 statements. For each statement, I would like for you to give me a number from 1 through 7, where 1 is I completely disagree with this statement, and 7 is I completely agree with this statement. 4 is neutral, and everything in between are, shades of gray.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So statement 1. Nick Cage is an actor I like.
Ooh. The gut's telling me 5.8.
I'm going to need a whole number out of you.
So you say I might not return. You might not ask me back. Let's round up. I will say 6.
6. Okay. Statement 2. Nick Cage makes mostly good movies.
Oh, that's going to be a 2 from me.
Rough. And then the final one.
What does that say about my taste?
The final statement, in light of this film, I want to watch more Nick Cage films.
Honestly, 7, but I've got a reason that we'll get to.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Thank you. So that's all for that. Um, that will be logged, and we will see what comes of that as we wrap up the study in several years. Um, bringing us back to Dog Eat Dog. Did you know anything about this movie before we sat down to watch it at all?
Absolutely not. I think the only thing I knew about it when you asked if I would be on this episode, when I looked it up, I saw that Willem Dafoe was in it. And I was like, well, that'll be entertaining, at least. When you asked the question about whether Nick Cage makes good movies, mostly good movies, I believe that Willem Dafoe would score a lot higher if you asked that same question about him.
Okay.
So I had high hopes because even if it's not a good movie, Willem Dafoe is going to be entertaining. And I think I could probably say the same for Nicky Cage.
They are bombastic. That is their number one. I don't think you ever get subtlety out of either actor, but also when you do, it's usually pretty tamed and incredibly like their subtle moments are very impressive subtle moments. But
Yes.
to give our audience a little background, just the back of the box, I of course, like with most of these movies, got a DVD from the Chicago Public Library to watch this with. So far, no strikeouts on Public Library. They have had every Nicolas Cage movie so far. Very weird, very good, but very weird. This box says legendary filmmaker Paul Schrader directs this sordid and engaging crime drama starring Academy Award winner Nicolas Cage and Academy Award nominee Willem Dafoe as ex-cons Troy and Mad Dog, along with Christopher Matthew Cook's Diesel, who are hired by an eccentric mob boss to kidnap a baby for a large ransom. Now that's funny.
That's only about 10% of the plot of that movie.
That is fully 15 minutes of that movie. That is that is the tip of the iceberg. So you and I, unlike with my previous guests so far, actually sat down and watched this movie together. So we got the experience, a very parallel experience. The first thing I wrote down is that we did have trailers before this movie. So we had a bit of a Nick Cage preview of a movie that I know is way far down the list called Rage, which looks like Nick Cage just also made Taken. It looks abysmal, truly. So that's gonna be exciting. To know that's on the horizon is a threat, I think.
I also wonder if watching, and this is another motivation for me to be on this journey with you, because I love the movie Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And I feel like the more Nick Cage films I watch, such as Rage, the more I'm going to get out of Unbearable Weight. Because there are aspects of Unbearable Weight that feel very much like a little bit Taken. Well, now I know why.
Yeah, maybe there's a character study to be had on our own parts as myself, the most experimented upon rat in this experiment. I will have a whole new appreciation. Who knows? Maybe we'll get further down this list and Dog Eat Dog will not be that bad.
Well, according to Rotten Tomatoes, though, according to Rotten Tomatoes, it is just on the lower side of the median.
Just barely below our MCM here. I will remind everyone, this is episode 4. So we are only 2 movies below the median Cage movie of The Family Man. And for a movie that is as middle as I can remember a movie being, those 2 steps feel big. let's just get into the film a little bit here. So we open on, as a lot of scenes in this movie, I think feel, and you maybe back me up on this if you agree, on a scene that's not particularly consequential to anything else that happens in the movie. We have two panelists at like a talk show talking about gun control. One is the talk show host, and one is a gun enthusiast. So this purely exists. This conversation exists only because we cut out of the TV into the person watching TV in time for character to say the phrase "methed out lunatic" right as Willem Dafoe's face fills the screen. So Willem Dafoe immediately snorts some drugs and reveals that he has an eyeball tattoo under his chin. He is in a room that is not lit in pink, but color graded in pink.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beginning of what I described, and what I believe you said to me also when we got through the movie, was that there were so many big directorial decisions made in this movie, but none of them really seem to mean anything. There's no point. Like, the room is just very pink just to be strange looking. So it's an odd moment. Willem Dafoe immediately gets up to answer the phone. I'm struggling here because this movie is hitting my brain again, and I'm like, God, I don't want to think about this again.
The phone rings, and he has a telemarketer who's trying not to telemarket, asking him, "No, I just want to know what you do." And he ends up, that's where you see that he's got a knife wrapped around his ankle, and he makes some weird comment about how he fillets fish for a living and guts fish. And then the women in his life enter the house. And that's when we meet Sheila and her daughter, I believe her name's Melissa, who do not last for very long before they aggravate him to the point of him taking said knife on his ankle to both of them. Well, and a gun to another one of them.
Yes. So he does begin trying to stay on Sheila's good side by promising that they can have short ribs for dinner. By saying the first truly insane line in this movie, where he says, "We're gonna eat them short ribs, and then I'm gonna eat that booty."
On her for a minute.
She doesn't respond that well to.
Yes, I think the short ribs were more promising to her.
Yeah, that was more. But then she discovers that he has been, aside from crashing there without permission, has been using her work computer for internet porn, and tells him to leave, which he then kills her, and then kills her daughter in a scene that is rough, frankly, and pointless. Ultimately pointless.
Well, I don't know if it's pointless. I don't know if it's pointless because it sets you up for what this character is. I mean, like, I don't think it's pointless. Is it over the top? Yes. But there's a reason why they put it in there, and that's just to give you a sense as to why this character is named Mad Dog for the rest of the movie.
That's true. Yes, he does also trip absolute balls and make faces in the mirror, which I could watch a full 90-minute movie of Willem Dafoe doing. That part of the movie was a high point for me. But then we get into the meat of things, by which I mean we then get our Nick Cage intro here, which we do by cutting to black and white.
Yeah. A black and white strip club. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So Cage is playing, as I said from the back of the box, Troy. I believe it's Troy Cameron, which is funny because we did Con Air last time, and his name was Cameron Poe. So there's a lot of unfortunate parallelism between those two characters. He is talking in voiceover. He is talking about how he was busted in jail, about how he knew these two guys before and they ran together, but he got busted on like a phony rap and he tried to escape and then wound up in jail, and this is his first day out. There's a very strange, did you catch this as like what is happening here? There's a moment where it cuts to a guy who says some kind of comment about the sort of person that they are, and it was shot exactly like a reality show confession. Like even it literally never happens again.
There were a lot of cases like that where I think that Schrader wanted to try something, and I think you and I both made this comment. I think it's on your letterbox too, that they wanted to try a lot of different interesting, quote unquote, interesting techniques for filming this film. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like there's very much meaning to a lot of them. For example, like when Willem Dafoe comes out of the bathroom, or Mad Dog comes out of the bathroom, and the room's graded pink, the bathroom, for some reason, is completely in blue light. So it's this really sharp, like colorful Technicolor, melt your brain kind of hue. And the comparison between the two, I mean, we know it now as bisexual lighting. I don't know if in 2016 Paul Schrader was aware of that, but between that weird little bit, you're right, with like the TV confessional almost kind of thing. The strip club in black and white, which I read today, was Paul Schrader saying that he hadn't seen a black and white strip club scene in a long time, and all I could think about was Sin City. So like, there's a whole bunch of different techniques that I think they just jumbled in to make the story more interesting. Because honestly, the more we talk about the plot of this movie, you're going to realize it wasn't that interesting.
Yeah, my next two notes actually are, so far this movie is about almost nothing, and T Swift. First, a weird recurring theme of mentioning Taylor Swift, not fully negatively. So they bring it up because they're all jailbirds who've been in jail for something like at least 5 years, all of them. And so they're all talking about how Taylor Swift came out of nowhere and they don't know who she is. And they don't get it. They don't understand what the deal is. And it's just kind of a way to sort of paint the idea that they are, one, criminals who would be funny if they were really interested in T Swift, but also that they're like clueless about the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, is that a setup for maybe the themes of the movie? No.
I mean, I did some research today because I am not a Swiftie by any means, but I was like, what was going on in 2016 with Taylor Swift when they made this movie? And I don't remember when the book was written, so I couldn't tell you. Maybe it was something that was in the original book. Maybe it was something that they added into the movie. Maybe they had a different celebrity that they swapped out with someone. But to give you a sense, Taylor Swift, 2016 was the year that Kanye West and Kim Kardashian went public against Taylor Swift because West released Famous with the lyrics that he wanted to fuck Taylor. And Kim Kardashian was the one who like released the video evidence that he had gotten approval with Swift about that. Even though Taylor went public saying, I didn't approve that. That's not, that's not fair. So that was sort of like, people would always kind of, she's always been, talked about, but especially in 2016, that was going on. That was also the year she was in a relationship with Tom Hiddleston, but something tells me that these three guys do not know that part.
Yeah, no. And it's just another weird moment. So we do sort of wrap into like what's up with them. Finally, we figure out Nick Cage is sort of their like, their head in their little 3-man gang. He's the one who's like the face and who talks to like people to get jobs. And they sound like they're mostly like grifters and like muscle. They just do like random stuff for a little grab bag money. and he's talking about how they are trying to find a new job. So he goes to see the Il Greco, the Greek, who is played by our director,
Paul
Paul
Schrader in his
Schrader.
film debut, yeah. Only because all of the directors he went to asking them to play it. And not just directors, but big names. Michael Douglas, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, even Nick Nolte, Christopher Walken, Jeff Goldblum. He went to all those guys to see if they would play it, and they didn't want to do it. I'm shocked. So instead of going over budget, he just played the role himself.
It is a moment where it's obvious that Schrader put himself in it as a last ditch effort. He's not even particularly enthused for a person who was like, oh, I'm gonna find like an interesting name. All those names you listed were like, those are heavy hitters to put in like this little role. He wanted someone like very charismatic to care that much about this role that is not that well written, which is why none of those people wanted to do it.
I'm sure.
To then slot himself into, to then essentially just schlub through. He does not give the performance of a lifetime or anything. He just sort of goes through the motions. They shoot a lot of him and Nick Cage not together, so they don't make a lot of eye contact or like emote off of each other. Oh boy. So they have a little meeting about a job. He wants him to go to this rich producer, I believe, but who's also running drugs, to steal some money and drugs off of his side project, which is that he's running coke. Nick Cage drops his first insane line of the movie, which I wrote in full because holy cow. Because it reveals something really important about the movie too. He says, dude, I know all of Seatown better than anybody.
And
So
what
yes,
is Seatown, Cody?
Cleveland.
This whole fucking movie takes place in Cleveland.
This is a high stakes crime drama about Cleveland. It's very bleak. I love Chicago, and I know people who are from the cities they are from are very proud of it. I have met a lot of people who actually do live in Ohio, came from Ohio and came here for college. I don't know anybody that likes Cleveland. Everybody who was in Cleveland that I ever met was trying to leave. So, and this movie shows Cleveland in all of its glory. It was shot on location, and by location they mean 2 neighborhood streets and 7 strip malls and 4 strip clubs and a lighthouse.
And a lighthouse. Willem Dafoe's
Those are
future place
all
of employment.
Yes, those are all the beautiful Cleveland locations that the city council was willing to let them film at. So Nick Cage gets very thoughtful talking to the Greek and is like, we'll need some cop uniforms and a cop car to pull this off. And the plan is bad, or at least so simple that they could have come up with anything else and it would have been the same. Right?
Yeah, it felt, as someone who's been spending the last 5 years of her life writing a Western about train robbers, it felt very much like the first iteration of the first train robbery I wrote.
But yes, very like this is a way to move the money into the hands of the people that we want to have it, because that's the direction the movie's supposed to go. But it should have gone wrong about 15 times. They find out where this guy is, and they pull him over. He's not driving, so they have to contrive that they need his license for a reason and for him to get out of the car. They're in cop uniforms and in the funniest fake police car I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh yeah, they literally used like masking tape or duct tape to write police on the side of the car, which means the letters are all like wonky.
They're all
But what kills me is the fact they have a real working emergency police light on top of the car.
yeah, they have it's like a former police car in shape. They just fudged the decals on the side. An actual intentional funny moment that actually did get a laugh out of us. So good.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I think
Yeah.
the photo of it is like one of the banner photos when you look this movie up on IMDb.
They do drive up to pull him over, and it's a 3-man group. So Nick Cage gets out of the back of a cop car,
Cop
like how
too.
cops ride.
It's also
they
important to mention in this, and maybe give this disclaimer for anyone who, after listening to us talk about this movie, still thinks they want to watch it. All three of these men are white, and they're all extremely racist.
Oh yeah.
And the man
This
that they're
is
pulling over to do this job is a black man. And so you can
yeah.
imagine that comes. I've got to give them this. They recognize the complexities that come with that and the reactions that would come with that. So yeah, that doesn't make it better. It's just something that maybe you as the listener might be questioning or curious about.
Yeah, it's so their plan is to pull over this guy, cuff him, kidnap him, force him to get the door open at the they call it a trap house, which um and so they can get in there and find this money/drugs that they're looking for. So they get him over to the trap house. They hold a gun to him and tell him to get the guy to open the door. And the other guy who's at the trap house opens the door. There's a little kerfuffle. There's some shots fired, and they wind up finding drugs but not money, and then abandoning this guy, but not before giving him a little beat down. I wrote my notes say they're quote unquote kicking him
Yeah,
because
the Foley artist went on break right before they put those sound effects in. Yeah, they
there's no kicking sound effects, and there's the kicking motion, like they're kicking his, like he's like doubled over on the ground, like on his hands and knees, and they're like kicking towards him, but he is not moving at all. They did not get any shots where he's reacting to being kicked, so
And when
he's
he
just
finally
there.
does talk again, he doesn't sound like he's been wounded. Now I'm saying I actually I was like, you know what? I kind of like I have the feeling that violence is happening, but I don't have to watch it. Part of me was like, I've seen enough movies where cops beat down black men. Kind of like
Yeah,
different. However,
yeah.
I mean that's the only nice thing I can say about that.
So they have this whole thing, and it seems like everything's going wrong, right? The way it's shot is very frenetic and crazy. They're like kicking this guy, asking where the money is. They find a bunch of drugs, but there's no money, and they seem really upset. And then all of a sudden, there's all these people outside. The whole neighborhood comes out
Mhm.
to like antagonize these guys who are like clearly not cops. One of the neighbors looks over in the car and goes, "This ain't no cop car. The back does not have the cage. It does not have any of the equipment, and it's got a bunch of old cans and fast food wrappers." And they start throwing things at them. So they got to run out, shooting their guns in the air to get people to back off. And they're like rushing out. They leave the guy behind with all the lights off because someone's trying to shoot into the building. And then it immediately cuts to them in a hotel suite, celebrating like they won the fucking lottery.
Well, yeah, because he sold the drugs. They had like what? How much money did they get off of the drug sale? Like 15K,
I
maybe. Yeah.
I think Nick Cage said what they came away with was 9K.
Mm-hmm. And he spent
So
$300 of it on broads. I remember that part.
yeah, he said three each, $300 on broads, which lets. So I was like, that went well, like that. Why was it shot like they were like I thought that was going to be the inciting incident of the movie, is that now they have all these drugs on hand and not money like they were supposed to get, and that's a problem. No, they just acted like it was. And then this movie has so many left turns that it just does not always make the most sense.
That
So they
they're
do
really
buy
not
some.
good at what they do. It's not like you're not setting them up for success for the next job, whatever the next job may be.
Oh, truly. And boy, do they step in it 150 times in this movie. So they go back to, I thought for a moment they maybe skipped town because they walk into a casino and I was like, "Oh, Vegas." No. It's a Cleveland casino. They all split up only to meet back in their connected suites with their prostitutes. Diesel, the heavy of the three of them, flirts with a woman at a bar.
Her name's
In
Jill.
another scene, yes, Jill. We do get some named female characters. No Bechdel test passing though in this movie.
Yeah, it's really Sheila, Melissa, and Jill, I think, are the only three. Now, in the credits, they all have names, but you never actually hear them being called by their names.
No, they never say the names.
Oh, and Taylor Swift, but she's not on screen.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So Diesel's chatting up this girl by acting like a complete psychopath, and so is she. So he actually successfully, like, I don't know, is there a word other than lure in this context? He lures a woman into his hotel room.
Yeah. I am a girl's girl, but I gotta say, watching her interactions, she's a little off her rocker too.
Yeah, I mean,
or drunk, possibly drunk.
Could be. Yeah. We get a little shot of everyone's evening activities. Nick Cage has bought a like straight up and down prostitute, pretty much a sex worker. He said he spent 300 on broads. It is entirely possible that was just, he meant just for him. Because Diesel pulled his own, and Willem Dafoe, Mad Dog, is getting a massage with a happy ending.
Yeah.
Which I imagine is cheaper than a prostitute. Am I right? Does that sound correct to you?
Why are you asking me this?
I don't know. I just need people to bounce ideas off. I can't do this alone. That's why you're here.
Well, I do know, Nick Cage is telling this girl that he wants to take her to Nice because his parents took him to Nice, and that's the first taste we get of how he's a little different than the others because he grew up with money.
I think he has brain damage also.
He probably, well, that too, but they all have a little bit of brain damage in this movie.
Yeah, he asks her if she's ever been to Nice.
And she's not listening because she's just there to do her job. But then, she tells him that he owes her more money if he wants her to do anything really of consequence. So yeah, that might be. And well, it's Cleveland. It's not Vegas prices, but $300 for her to show up and then extra on top of that for other things. Maybe, I don't know.
I think the 300 was for sex, and she was intimating by her body language that it was extra for a BJ.
Got it. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And which, of course, she gets down on her knees to entice him while he's sitting on the edge of the bed, and he changed the subject to ask if she knows what a tourmaline is, which is a kind of rare gemstone.
And then they cut.
And then they cut because I guess she says, "Listen, we can do this, or I can go."
Doesn't he also show up downstairs at the casino where Willem Dafoe is rubbing his bare foot on the carpet in one of the weirdest and greatest monologues of the movie about just how wonderful carpet is? But he goes downstairs and he's like, "I got her a tourmaline bracelet. What do I get?" Yeah, maybe it is brain damage.
Yeah, I mean, this is also, by the way, we did sort of glaze over this in the strip club. he does also in the first strip club scene get a prostitute and have sex there too.
Yes.
Like, so this is sex worker number 2. Set him up, knock him down. Nick Cage.
I think in the end we figured out that only 4 of the women on the screen in the entire movie, and Taylor Swift, were not sex workers, and the rest were.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. So he has his night. Between the 3 characters, failures or relative failures to get off with women after their quote unquote successful crime. Nick Cage does that, which I guess he might have had sex or he might have talked this woman's ear off for 8 hours. Willem Dafoe exasperates a massage therapist by taking too long to finish.
Yeah. I think he gets more enjoyment out of the carpet under his bare feet in the diner downstairs.
God, he does. And then Diesel has a like rage-induced freak out while Jill is there, and she's like, "I'm just gonna leave because you're a psychopath."
Smart woman.
They all me smart. That was the moment in the movie where I wrote, "Who are these people? Why are these characters on the screen?" We do get down to the carpeted casino breakfast area where Willem Dafoe has his shoes. That's not fair. 1 shoe and 1 sock off.
Mm-hmm. Which already to me is a huge ick. Like, I hate the feeling of having 1 completely bare foot next to 1 completely shoed foot. So already I was getting the skin tinglies. But then to be dragging his bare foot across carpet in a eating area at a casino, really, and he has this monologue, and I get it. I totally understood what he was saying. He was like, after years of being in prison where there's no carpet and there's nothing but just dirty floor, it feels really nice to run your bare foot on carpet. And I'm like, I get that. But,
He does toss out what he says the carpet feels like. And I haven't recorded many of these yet. I don't know if I feel like what he says that I want to say. That might be the grossest line in the movie. That might be one of the worst things that anyone says in this film.
You know what? We're going to leave that for the listener. If they want to know, they got to go watch this thing. That'll be your
look up what wonderful sensory experience Willem Dafoe compares dragging his toe across a carpet to, and go ahead, and if you leave a review or comment how you felt about it, if it made you feel happy or bad like we felt. This is also the moment where, clearly still drunk from the night before, Nick Cage asks them if they think he looks like Humphrey Bogart, and then reveals that he got told once that he looked like Humphrey Bogart, and then he sort of mediates and says, well, like a stretched out version of him.
And that's also something that comes back in the movie.
Yeah. Do you think a casting director or agent once said that to Nicolas Cage?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like I also wonder though if it was part of the original novel, if that was part of it, if that was Eddie Bunker's. Maybe someone told that to Eddie Bunker.
Maybe. I sort of buy, if Nick Cage stood next to Humphrey Bogart, he'd sort of be the Bert to his Ernie. So I get that. That was almost like close. So this is also the moment in the movie where after Willem Dafoe kills those 2 people, kills Sheila and Melissa. The screen just says 3 days later, and then we're treated to like 5 flashbacks. So this is the moment in the movie where I did have to stop and think about, okay, so this is what's 3 days later. This part, not him in prison. This isn't what Mad Dog was like before he went to jail. It was a lot of, man, you can't just put words on a screen and let it make sense for people. Everyone's all hopped up on blow. And Nick Cage decides, of course, it's time to get another job. So he goes to see Paul Schrader again. In a scene that takes place in a restaurant? ?
You know, it's like someone wanted to do a high concept speakeasy, high fine dining restaurant inside an abandoned bank vault.
Yeah. They cut to a bank vault, which is where he had his first meeting with Paul Schrader. But they had it at like a desk. So I
am a little curious where in Cleveland this might be.
Right? So he meets with Il Greco, with Paul Schrader, and with a Chepe, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a gangster of a somewhat higher and more dangerous order. And this gangster wants to get money that he is owed by a man named Mike Brennan. And so he says that the plan is kidnapping. To kidnap a baby, like a younger than one baby.
It's like Nicolas Cage's inner Raising Arizona turned on. And he was like,
yeah. He got activated like the code words in Winter Soldier. And he all of a sudden was in baby stealing mode again.
Yes.
They make a meal out of this little moment too, where Nick Cage finds out what the plan is, and his character is having inner conflict. So they cut back to his voiceover again. And I thought they had freeze framed on his face. But no, he was just truly staring, unmoving, and then eventually did some facial movements as he sort of dawned on him whether he was going to do this or not. And again, so many moments in this movie are so weird. Like, it's almost like they cut that scene where he's just sort of thinking and making a face, and they were like, that doesn't get the point across. He has to talk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he goes back to the boys and he tells them what the plan is. None of them are crazy about it, but the amount of money that is being offered is, I don't know.
I mean, it's not a lot. Like, maybe I'm just jaded by all the heist movies I really enjoy watching. As you know, Cody, Fast and Furious 5, my second favorite of the franchise. And that's
Crazy.
like millions and millions of dollars at stake. And this one, I think they stand to make what, $750K
total across 3 people.
And that's with the bonus that they get promised, because they're a little waffly on the idea of doing it.
They're a little tepid on baby stealing. So the guy offers to bump them up to $750K, which, like, based on the lifestyle they live, which is, Cleveland. Shooting up. Yeah, I guess maybe that goes a long way in Cleveland. Who knows? But they like drive up. I don't want to get ahead of myself, because he does say something absolutely insane before they decide to take the job, which is they frame this as like their last job, which again is madness. Put it up against Sexy Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Put it up against Ocean's 11.
This was their Ocean's moment. This is our one last job. Mm-hmm.
This is their one last job where they each stand to make 5 years' salary each. And Nick Cage says, if we do this, we got to do it samurai style, like Jackie Chan. By which he means that if one of them gets caught or killed,
they all go
they
down.
all go down.
Yep.
Which it's funny in retrospect to think, how bad did they think this could possibly go? And the answer is they did not even, they underestimated how badly it could go. So they roll off to go to this job. They all decide they're in. They want this last big score so that they're not making chump change anymore. And then we cut to, I don't know. I hit 100 movies this year in 2025. Just like this week. I watched this movie and then 2 palate cleansers, and I hit my 100th movie. I think the worst scene in cinema that I watched this year is the next scene.
Oh, when the guy is talking in his car on the way to the house.
So we get a guy who reveals himself to be Mike Brennan, the guy they're trying to extort. He gets into an SUV and starts a phone conversation. And it is very clearly not supposed to be like a protracted phone conversation that we're seeing parts of. He's talking like right in order. We can't hear the other side, but he's always answering as if he's just heard the next part of the conversation. But every time he finishes a line, the shot is from the passenger side window looking at him driving, so you can see out the driver's side window. And he's driving past real scenery, not a green screen. So every time he finishes a sentence,
on location,
in Cleveland, beautiful Cleveland scenery, but every time he finishes a sentence, the scenery jump cut to new, like a blink to a new place. But he's not like, again, it's not like, oh, he had a 20-minute conversation and these are all the bits we're hearing of it. No, it's supposed to be him going through one like long set of lines, like he's acting out one half of a short call.
And all you need to know is that he's about to go surprise his baby mama and at the house. That's all you need to know.
All you need to know is that. And so he gets through 5 lines in the most stilted, not really acting delivery. I hate to talk bad about this one particular actor in a movie full of people making crazy decisions. He fumbles on every point, and you can tell that he couldn't even make it through that full speech because they cut every time he finished a sentence, and you can see it cut where he's in new scenery. It was so jarring and crazy. I mean, I've seen some bad movies this year. That moment really was like a shocking.
It felt very first production, doing it on a budget because I'm in film school.
Yeah. I
mean, even I know people who have been in film school and would not have made those mistakes.
I mean, we have friends and friends of friends and community that made movies in high school
that did a better job.
Who had continuity people on shoots when they were filming with handy cams in the street. Like, well, yeah, that was so he winds up at the house before them, and he's sitting up on the chair ready to meet his baby mama and confront her. And the guys show up. They manage to sneak all the way past him, get up to the baby room, and then he walks in on them. And he says something like, "Oh, you guys are so fucked," because he's got a gun. And then Willem Dafoe whips around with a shotgun and blasts his head open like a pumpkin.
And you see it from behind.
You see it, yes. His head fully bursts. And it, again, in another moment, very weird editing, where all like the sound effects and special effects all sort of collapse over each other. You hear the gunshot, the head explosion, and then right on the tail, Nick Cage goes, "Bad dog."
Yeah, that was some after. That had to be put in afterward. Also, I don't believe the baby starts crying.
No, after a gunshot, a shotgun shot
A
of an
shotgun shot
extreme
and Nick Cage saying "bad dog."
screaming bad dog. It does wake up the nanny in the room.
It does,
So
yeah.
they wind up.
Who is another one of the rare women who is not a sex worker.
Yes, she is a woman with a regular job and of course no name. She is just the nanny.
She is the nanny, yes.
At this point in the movie, I wrote in my notes, they aren't very good at this. Which
Yeah,
again is a moment where
at this point they've gained a second car because Brennan's car is parked outside. But they also, upon searching the body, find that his name is Jose, I believe. He's got an ID card on him.
yeah, he's got a fake ID that says his name is Jose Vasquez. So they're in the dark. They don't know who this guy is. I think as they describe it to each other and later, they think he's like a bodyguard.
Yeah.
They call him a soldier, which is crazy. He's not a gangster. He's a guy who owes a gangster money, so he wouldn't have like his own little capo or whatever. But they think he's just there to guard the house.
Well, again, I'd like to point out, remember, these characters are really racist and have named people bad things. So it could be because his name was Jose that they called him a soldier.
Yeah, it could just be an assumption that he wouldn't be anything other than a hired hand or something, or a mercenary. Yeah, I mean, they're not great characters. They're in a lot of ways. So they all decide they've got to clean up this mess because they think it's bad, but they don't know how bad it is. So they wrap up the body in garbage bags. They kidnap both the child and the nanny. And the baby mama comes home as well. And so while they're trying to move the body and get the nanny and the baby to another location, the woman is there like trying to find out where the baby is and trying to find out where the nanny is. And Nick Cage just keeps telling her, "I wouldn't do that. Don't go there." And kills her.
Mm-hmm.
Like straight up just shoots her and they just move on. Wild. Like,
well, and
this movie is so weird.
Well, and I pointed it out to you when we were watching it. The house now has had a shotgun blast, a baby crying, weird men showing up, a strange car in the driveway, two strange cars in the driveway if Brennan doesn't visit very often. And you see the way that you see that that the baby mama has been shot is that there's a flash of light in the window upstairs right on the street. And no one in the neighborhood shows up, which I think is such an interesting, I don't know if they meant to do it this way. I don't know if Paul Schrader was just being a little sneaky, but like, I am fascinated by how community exists in different places. And so you've got Moon Man in the beginning when they go in to steal the drugs and the money and they only find the drugs. His entire community comes out to see what's going on and help him out. And then you've got them stealing this kid from Brennan's house, or Brennan's mother.
The rich community.
The rich community.
Yeah,
and no one shows up.
I would love to think that is intentional commentary. I don't think this movie is capable of doing anything intentionally.
Yeah.
I feel the opposite about this. Although it could just be a thing about, mansions that that's the way it is. But also this is a movie where the next things that happen are they sort of set all their plans in motion. They set up the nanny with the baby in a cage. It's in like a flop house of some kind where they have like an elevator, like a the elevator cage door, and they lock her in with a combination lock and say that once the ransom is done, that someone can come with the combination and they'll get her and the baby out, and everything's fine. And then they all split up. Diesel and Mad Dog are going to Toledo, or most of the way to Toledo, to drop off Brennan's body, who they don't know is Brennan yet.
Yeah.
And Nick Cage, it says he's off to meet and talk with the Greek with Paul Schrader. It's still so weird that it's just him. To
try to patch things over.
Yeah, because they're thinking like, oops, we killed this, bodyguard. So Nick
And
Cage.
the mother.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a disaster. The disaster before they know how big of a disaster it is. Nick Cage gets on the phone with the Greek, and he's in one of the beautiful locations in the parking lot of Strip Mall. And this scene, he has this conversation with the Greco where he's like, "Oh, we ran into some trouble," and the Greek is like purposefully burying the lead. Like he's like, "Yeah, what kind of trouble?" Like
all the while, Nick Cage is having this conversation while walking back to his car with a burner phone. And there is legitimately a woman walking slowly behind him with her shopping cart who could quite honestly be overhearing everything he's saying.
Just a normal conversation and nothing to report. He does get flustered and walk out into the street, and he almost gets hit by a car, and he flails a lot. It is wild what he does. He like hits the hood of the car a little, and he sort of like wobbles, and he's like half on the phone and about to scream. It's a very like, I'm walking here if he was completely on goofballs. Like so he finds out from the Greek they killed the guy who's supposed to pay the ransom money. So that's going to be a problem. And at this point in the movie, did you think there was going to be like a resolution to that?
I think at that point I realized that they had all sort of signed their own death warrants. Like I was like, there's really no resolution coming. It's just a question of how are they all going to die? Yeah.
And yet you would think that in a movie where you piss off a gangster, that maybe the death would come at the hands of said gangster. And they just kind of lean out.
No, it does not. No, in fact, like, doesn't Greco go like, oh, like, he won't be happy, but we can probably patch things up. Let me talk to him. Blah, blah, blah. And he doesn't give you any reason to like think he's like side-eyeing them at all. Like, it does feel like he legitimately is thinking that he can patch things up.
Possibly a failure in acting on Paul Schrader's part, but also like the way it's written is very much like, I mean, it's not what we wanted to happen, but it was a guy who was like being kind of like not just delinquent with the debt he owed to this gangster, but kind of a prick about it is what it sounded like. So like there's a side of it where like they're like, well, he's going to be mad, but also you did take care of it in a way. And it's like, oh, that's kind of not, I was expecting this to be like a rundown then, where they were like trying to get away from Chepe. But no, what happens next is that Willem Dafoe forces Diesel to take a detour at another strip club so that he can score. He needs more drugs. This is bizarre Taylor Swift mention too.
Yes, there's a scroll sign outside the strip club that says live Taylor Swift lookalike contest.
And I'm going to be honest, no one in the strip club was trying that hard. A lot of blonde wigs, and that's kind of it. Blonde wigs and what a stripper would normally be wearing. So like not that good. And then And then Willem Dafoe decides that he's got to come clean to Diesel. In a scene that what I wrote was, this is what happens when men learn therapy terms.
Yeah. Mad Dog sort of goes on this interesting, I've got to improve myself journey. And to do that, he pulls in Diesel as his therapist a little bit, but also like you can tell he's very paranoid that Diesel doesn't like him because Mad Dog's paranoid about everything. He's very itchy and yeah, he gets Diesel to admit that like, yeah, we are friends and it's okay, bud. And so the entire ride to the next stop on their little journey, which is the lighthouse, which you and I both said, oh, he's going to move in and work there with Robert Pattinson. It's like a abandoned lighthouse or naval base or something. He that's where they're dropping off the body of Brennan, which miraculously has a head on it again in the wrappings, even though we saw the head explode like a pumpkin. But the entire time they're in there going to the hiding place, he explains that he's dumped two other bodies, and those are Sheila and Melissa from the very beginning of the movie, which at this point, I had totally forgotten about that. There was too much crazy going on, and I kind of forgot the entire like that had even happened.
It's definitely a script beat that is almost like you're kind of supposed to go, oh, but like to what? Like it's very. He says, oh, there's these two other bodies there, and like. Diesel is even like, oh, Sheila, she finally got to you. And it's like, yeah. Thanks for not, thanks for not projecting on me, though. Like, that's the whole conversation is him talking about how he needs like a fresh start and how he's going to reboot his personality. Oh my gosh.
And he asked, honestly, though, Cody, that was possibly my favorite scene of the movie because I hesitate to think it was scripted. I think Willem Dafoe was told, okay, your character's going to have like a therapy crisis and is going to, and this is going to be something I have to admit. I have had days like that after like, feeling I've kind of messed up on things where I'm like, okay, do a full personal inventory. And I don't go to my friends and say, can you write up a list of the 8 things about my personality I should change? Which is what he does to Diesel.
His request of Diesel as they're carrying a body is, I need you to tell me 5 character flaws I can do a reboot on.
And that if the rest of the movie felt like that scene, I would have enjoyed the movie more.
Oh, I did write in this moment that Willem Dafoe acts for everyone else in this movie.
Yeah.
If there's a person that is like doing at least the most work in this movie with the most success, it is Willem Dafoe. Sorry to all my Cage heads out there, all of us prisoners in this experiment. Nick Cage is in this movie a star, but he is sort of, well, I was going to say he sort of lazes his way through this one. He spends a lot of this movie in the front 2/3. Most of his reactions are kind of like he's an exasperated house pet. Like, he does a lot of rubbing his forehead and rolling his eyes about how weird, and quirky the 2 other criminals are.
And Diesel, really, apart from the anger issues, Diesel really is not that strange.
No, I guess not. He does have his like final snap, which is they're carrying Brennan's body up the stairs in the lighthouse because Willem Dafoe insists that it being in an abandoned lighthouse behind a padlock is not enough. It needs to be up where he hid the other bodies so that there's just more layers of protection. And then they get all the way up there, and they 2 previously dead bodies and the new dead body all get into this like loft to try to arrange it, and the balcony floor that they're standing on drops out. They drop 2 stories
Mm-hmm.
on top of the bodies. They get up, and Willem Dafoe is still going on about his mental health crisis and how he needs to improve himself. And Diesel whips out a gun and shoots him in the head.
It shoots him through the eye tattoo on the bottom of his chin, which you have only ever seen in that first scene to creep you out a little bit and never see again.
Until, he shoots him right through it. And in a weird moment, these are people who have shot off guns inside about a dozen times in this movie already. The shotgun goes off inside of Brennan's house. Nick Cage fires a gun inside the mansion. Earlier in the trap house, there's a bunch of shots fired and stuff. So, but in this place, he shoots the gun and all of a sudden is overtaken by how loud it is to shoot inside. I guess it's like a concrete building.
But yeah, I was thinking maybe it's because it's metal, but no, it was concrete. I also wondered whether, and maybe it was the sound effects that they chose and the way that the actor stylized his motions. Part of me at first thought maybe it's just the pain of having done this to someone who, like, they were writer guys, right? They're supposed to be, samurai style, remember?
Samurai style.
And this is a moment where I think he realizes that, because I think they've told him that's Brennan at that point, right? He knows that they've sort of they've killed off the meal ticket. And so it's like he's taking things into his own hands. So at first I thought that reaction was, oh my God, I can't believe we're at this point. I can't believe I had to do that. Because the entire time you get this feeling watching it, oh, one of them is going to die here. And I kind of had a feeling it was going to be Mad Dog. And then the way it was done, I was like, oh, yeah. So clearly Diesel knew that this was probably going to happen too, because Mad Dog's the one who shot this guy. Yeah. And so part of me was like, maybe this is just the way that he's dealing with the guilt, the overwhelming, I can't believe I just did that feeling. No, it was tinnitus.
Yeah. Yeah. Then he meets back up with Nick Cage and tells him the Mad Dog is dead. We cut to the dumbest montage ever of them celebrating after their just you you texted me earlier today when we were about to record. You said, I cannot believe this movie was only 93 minutes long. So truly not that long has happened between this moment and the actual moment in the movie where they're like celebrating their big score from earlier where they got their 9K. But it's a scene we didn't get to see where they have room service ketchup and mustard bottles and are squirting each other with condiments and
it's like, a Platoon spoof. Seriously, it's because Willem Dafoe, remember, he crushes down to his knees in Platoon and there's blood. He does the same thing. They have him fall to his knees as they're spraying ketchup all over him.
I did not pick up on that. I saw Platoon earlier this year and I was, I guess, a little shell shocked in general by the movie, no pun intended.
That's fair.
To get all that, but absolutely crazy. They realize that things are kind of bad, right? So they need to meet back up with Chepe to smooth things over. Mad Dog's out of the picture. Maybe that's a good thing. They can say Mad Dog's the one who shot Brennan. He's taken care of. They can move forward. We're not doing samurai style anymore, I guess, and it's just Diesel and Nick Cage now. But before they can do anything, Diesel says he needs to go to a store. And I was wondering what was about to the grocery store. He has to go to a store. So they pull up to another strip mall. And I was like, okay, so what is he gonna do? Right? Because, like, again, you're a writer. I'm a movie fan picking up on like, oh, like this is the guy who killed Mad Dog. Maybe he's got something in store for like, he's going to get away. He's going to betray him. He's going to go see, the Greek alone. No,
he goes literally grocery shopping.
he's getting like his regular midweek grocery haul, and not even like, oh, I got to run in if we're going to be on a run in a while. I'm going to make a sandwich. No, he gets like raw ground beef, and he's shopping for vegetables and chips. Like he's in like every aisle.
He stops
got
at the
a cart.
butcher stand, and that's where his problems begin because his shirt lifts up and the gun in his waistband is visible
Is
to the grocery store
huge stupid gun.
Which I think is really funny because like they make a big deal of the grocery manager calling the cops and telling them that there's a guy in kind of like a dirty jacket with a gun in the back of his like concealed carrying. Yeah, Ohio is a state where that's allowed. So not really sure. Not really sure what the problem was. And even the officers that get called to the scene are like, "Sir, has he done anything weird?" Like
It's like you just described a guy at Walmart. Like we can't get in his face about this. So he's doing his, I mean, truly, I thought he was going to like run in. But he's just shopping. He's got a bunch of shit he needs to buy. And so one of the cops is like, I'll go in and check it out. And the other cop is like, okay, we saw what car he got out of. I'll check the plates and the car. Nick Cage is waiting in the car.
Is that when he's reading the GQ magazine with Taylor Swift on the cover?
Yes.
Taylor Swift makes a third appearance.
Yeah, he just pulls out GQ and Taylor Swift's on the cover and he just starts reading more about Taylor Swift. I feel like, I guess, rule of threes. Why not pay off? I guess. But also, pay off what? Pay off talking about Taylor Swift. So the guy inside starts kind of trailing Diesel, and you know, there's not much he can do because Diesel is a guy with a gun who's shopping, and that's not illegal yet in Ohio. But the other cop, who's a woman who does maybe have a name.
I don't know. Yeah, she does say her name. She announces what her name is, officer, whatever. Yeah, she gets out of the car and gets Nick Cage out of the car.
Yeah, he's got expired tags, and she says that he needs to get out of the car, and she's like, we need to search the vehicle, and he's like nervous, so he goes, oh, let me get my jacket because it's cold. And I was like, oh, is he trying to like, I was like, is his gun in his jacket, and that way if the car gets searched nothing will happen? Or is he,
well, he had already moved the gun to, I think, his jacket. I think we see him when he sees the cop rolling around. I think he moves the gun because he does have a gun in the car.
So he puts the jacket on, and then kind of like in one motion, then decides to try to punch out this cop, which is a humongous escalation considering what does he have in the car?
A gun.
The gun is in his jacket pocket.
Yeah.
But that's it. A gun he's allowed to have because it's Ohio.
That's right. Yeah.
So he escalates for no reason in what is the most awkward fight scene I think I've ever seen. That first punch that gets thrown. If there are any clips from this movie that folks actually have to go see, this is one of them. He punches, and clearly they didn't want to do like a real contact punch between these two actors, between Nick Cage, a man in his later years of action movie stardom, and a woman cop that he's going to punch in the face. So it's faked. It looks CGI-ish. But she doesn't like roll right. Like he punches her like almost in the bottom of the chin on her right side, but she like doesn't like move her head the way it would if it gets punched. It looks crazy.
It looked like a stage punch that they forgot in the editing room to speed up so it looked legit.
Yes. And then on top of that, like she also flubbed her like fall. the way that she was supposed to fall for how she got punched.
Yeah.
They roll around on the floor. Diesel comes out with he checked out. He's got a bag.
He has a bag. He has a bag of groceries. He was abiding the law.
He did. He just got groceries. He sees Nick Cage struggling with this cop. It's like there's more cops on the way. And then Diesel drops his bag, pulls his gun out, shoots at the lady police officer, which makes the other cop flip out and start firing, and he calls for backup. Diesel winds up stealing a cop car, like a big
SUV.
cop SUV.
Yeah, the backup
huge.
SUV.
And first of all, there is another, probably, I said earlier there was the worst scene that I've seen in a movie. I think maybe now looking at my notes, this might be the worst scene in a movie I've seen all year. The police are trying to shoot down Diesel, and they're trying to, to stop him from driving away. And a cop takes a shot, and for some god-awful reason, the way they frame the bullet zooming towards him, which does miss and hits someone in the grocery store, is what winds up happening.
Oh, it's the barber shop next door to the grocery store.
Yes, that's right. They shoot someone in the barber shop on accident. The way they frame this shot is the cop puts the gun out and takes the shot, and then when the bullet ejects, when it makes the blast, it's like camera view over the top of the gun. And then to show the bullet moving, they do like a cameo of like a really small circle, but the gun is still in the frame too, the circle, and both the gun and the cameo circles zoom forward towards the person. It looked like an unfinished special effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was baffled. I wrote terrible gun following shot because I had no other way to figure out how to describe that. Geez Louise. So all that, and Diesel is driving off like he's about to escape, but he's got Nick Cage saying samurai style in his head over and over again. We gotta go samurai. And so he crashes into a pole on purpose, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And no airbag deploys, which is a little strange.
In a cop car.
In a cop car, yeah.
So that's the end of Diesel. And we lose. We've lost so much of the crew. We just have Nick Cage now. And I was like, okay, so maybe it's like now the movie's like truly wrapping up, right? I was like, now they're going to show like Nick Cage gets arrested. He failed at being samurai style. He got arrested and everyone else got killed. But no, we sort of ramble along to another scene where this is more like interesting anti-cop stuff in this movie that is, again, interesting, but not like timely. And it's not in a way that's saying anything. It's just like anti-cop stuff in the way that like usually the police are bad guys in crime movies because you want to root for the criminals. But Nick Cage gets taken out to the middle of nowhere by these two police officers that arrested him.
Is it the middle of nowhere? Is it the middle of nowhere, or is it the alley behind the grocery store? Because honestly, I thought it was an alley behind the grocery store.
It could have been. It's possibly that. It's possibly the middle of nowhere. It is dark. We go from the noonday sun over this shootout to they've been driving him around for at least some amount of time for it to get dark out. Maybe just driving him around aimlessly so that they didn't have to do their police torture in broad daylight. They handcuff him to like the bumper of the car, and they get in and drive off while he's being dragged.
By a metal handcuff.
On a metal handcuff, which one of those things would give long before he was dragged for that long. Either the hand.
Yeah, if anyone else has watched Gerald's Game, you know exactly where my head was going. And I thought, I don't know if I want to see that. After all the crazy things that happened in this movie, I don't know if I can deal with a degloving.
No, he just gets dragged and he does a terrible ADR scream.
Yeah.
It was at this point in the movie that I wrote that this is the true crime version of an old Peepaw story. Like, you know, you sit down and you got an old relative and they want to tell you about a time that something happened to them, but they don't really know how to just tell you. And so they just kind of go on and on and on, like taking you different places in the story. And it's like the point of the story is the end, but that's not for a long time. And like it just felt like things kept happening. And then that very well could have been the end of the movie. They could have cut to black and been like, that's it. He dies. You know, he gets killed this way. But instead we go back to black and white for about 35 seconds. And we're in a diner.
Mm-hmm.
And we get two brand new characters so late in the movie.
Yeah, and it's like a nice older couple, older black couple. You know that they had a good dinner because they say so. And they head out to their car, and who's waiting for them, but somehow is still alive, not degloved, not even bleeding really that much, escaped Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, he comes out of the woods like Sasquatch. And he's like behind the diner and he forces them to get into the car. And he's like, you're going to drive me. And it's at this point in the movie where he's decided to fully start talking like Humphrey Bogart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I had to point this out when we were watching it because Humphrey Bogart had one of his lips, I think it was his top lip. This is at legend, or maybe it's been confirmed. I just remember a film teacher telling us this once. Humphrey Bogart's top lip, I believe, was paralyzed. He couldn't feel it and he couldn't move it very well. So that's why when you watch him in movies, you'll see, and a lot of stars did this, but he did this like nobody else. He would tuck the cigarette up in between his teeth and his top lip, and it would just dangle there. And it also affected his speech. Nicolas Cage does his best trying to accomplish this. But because he can feel his top lip, it doesn't go that well.
Right. When he started doing it while we were watching, I said, why is he talking like James Cagney? Because I'd forgotten all his Humphrey Bogart nonsense from earlier in the movie. And you were like, no, it's a callback. He's
trying to be Humphrey Bogart.
He just can't do.
Don't I look like Humphrey Bogart?
I also read at this part, he's gotta be dreaming. Because they drive for a few minutes of him like haranguing them and like talking to them about how everything's going to be all right, and he's actually a nice guy and they seem like nice folks. And then they flip out and say they can't drive anymore. So he tells them to get in the back and he starts driving. And the moment he starts driving, we are in like pea soup, the way London looked when children still worked in the factories fog.
Yeah, I thought it was a callback to Casablanca, the final scene of Casablanca, which ends with Rick leaving Ingrid Bergman on the Humphrey Bogart leaving Ingrid Bergman on the at the plane and walking away from the plane in very dense fog with Louis, who is sort of a cop, a Vichy cop. And Louis, this is going to be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Which I thought that's where they were going with it. I was like, well, that's an interesting turn.
And yet, he drives in the fog for a while, but then the police stop him. He gets out of the car like right away because I don't know what they would have on him.
Yeah, he gets out of the car right away and then starts like he moves away from the car.
Yeah.
He leaves the two completely innocent poor people that got pulled into this, leaves them in the car, and he is very far away. This is important to note. Very far away from the car when the shooting starts.
He takes like two big steps and like 2 or 3 big steps and is like, look, I am a bad guy. These people aren't responsible. And the police just keep going like, get your hands up, freeze. And then they just open fire and they shoot the car and the 2 innocent people in it to pieces. And then they shoot Nick Cage to pieces. And the whole time it's police sirens over and lighting over fog, so it looks like more bisexual lighting, which is bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
And then he dies. That's
but not
it.
before a final monologue.
Right.
About how he might not have been looking for justice after all. Which made no sense. I didn't remember him ever saying he was looking for justice to begin with. So, yeah,
this whole
mostly
movie
I just
has
sat
an
there
amnesiac
going,
effect.
Maybe he said it and I just didn't remember it because I was too busy thinking about Willem Dafoe's funny faces in the mirror.
Yeah, that could be. But yeah, and then it's truly a meaningless monologue. And I just, whoa, man. For reference, this movie still sits firmly in the like 50% range on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is what baffles me. And I even looked at like IMDb to see user feedback on that. Because, Rotten Tomatoes, there's lots of critics out there that want to like the subversive weird stuff, even if they don't get it, and even if it's not good. And you also get the people that just, want to troll. And so like Rotten Tomatoes, not to put a damper on your whole like strategy here for this podcast, but Rotten Tomatoes is not always the most accurate. IMDb, it has a user review average of 4.8, which is still just on the other side of the median. It's really wild.
It's what's nuts to me is that by IMDb standards, that means that on average, there are plenty of people who probably rated this movie a 6 or maybe even a 7.
No, actually, most people rated this a 5, followed by 6 and 4 tied pretty well. And then the majority of people after that, like, it's got a few 7s, very few 8s, almost no 9s. And believe it or not, there are, how many 10s? There's a surprising number of 10s.
I think I discovered how this sits so high on IMDb, on Rotten Tomatoes, on Letterboxd too. It is people who absolutely would follow Paul Schrader into this open grave of a movie.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, the man's an icon apart from this.
I mean, yeah, he's a great writer. And
he wrote Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. He directed and wrote First Reformed, which I thought was... And he did that just a year after this movie came out, which also baffles me. He also did The Card Counter, which is excellent with Oscar Isaac.
I mean, and you can sort of feel... So there's a not unbroken, but still straight line between Taxi Driver and this movie, where it's like a person with a twisted idea of what the world is really like, sort of encountering the world on their own terms, but being caught up against like constant resistance because they are way outside of societal norms and they refuse to see themselves as the weird one. But it does not deliver on the same even aesthetic. I mean, first of all, Taxi Driver takes place in New York in the 70s, and this takes place in Cleveland at the height of Taylor Swift Kim Kardashian drama, and it's just not the same mood.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd, and then
You were nice.
I read all these reviews. I think that upon having this conversation, I might go back and lower it, because in retrospect, there are so many parts of this movie that fail so spectacularly. But that's going through the Letterboxd reviews. There are a ton of people who are like, it's Paul Schrader at it again. It's like, it's not. It's Paul Schrader.
Yeah.
Like filling a movie quota. Like he got a 5-pick deal and this had to be one of them. Like it's not.
Yeah. It felt, well, like, because we know Paul Schrader, like you said, Taxi Driver, there's an air of rebellion to that. He also did The Last Temptation of Christ, which has Willem Dafoe in it. No wonder he did such a good job working together. And you and I can do a whole episode on The Last Temptation of the Christ. Too bad Nick Cage isn't in that one. So he knows what he's doing with that. I feel like, and maybe this comes back to, again, 2016 was not that long after Ferguson, Mike Brown and Ferguson. It wasn't that long after Laquan McDonald here in Chicago. There's a lot of stuff that was going on with police brutality that was happening at that time. Paul Schrader's an old white dude from the 70s. I wonder if he was trying to make some kind of, like, make himself relevant in a way with this, and it just didn't pan out.
That is such a generous
Well, I'm also doing that read based off of First Reformed, though, because if you watch First Reformed, mm-hmm. that is a critique of the modern, quote unquote, progressive church in the United States and climate change activism and climate change terrorism. And so I think that that's another, he knows how to do it. This movie just did not hit that mark.
No, it's pretty rough, guys. I will say it does scratch, if you truly have seen every other Willem Dafoe movie, and maybe someday side podcast, if there's a Willem, there's a way, the podcast. If you and I maybe want to cover that ground, we can spin off at some point. But it is just a rough view, and also a little disappointing, with 2 big exceptions in the special features department, which, as folks know, I have been getting all these as DVDs from the public library, specifically because then I can see what the special features are, if there are any. This is a 2016 movie, so we're on like the sort of death of physical media had sort of begun at that stage. But we popped open the special features, and there were no deleted scenes. There was a commentary with Paul Schrader, but that would have meant rewatching the whole movie again, and that was not going to happen. But there was an intro video of Nicolas Cage introducing the movie.
Yeah, for Toronto International Film Fest, right? TIFF.
For TIFF. This movie debuted at TIFF.
Again, Paul Schrader.
And so Nick Cage is sitting on the edge of a balcony in a leather jacket. He's got a very hefty pour of red wine in a white wine glass. And he is clearly, it is the second glass. You can tell by how he talks. He introduces this movie by mostly saying that he is excited to work with Willem Dafoe again, because he says he hadn't worked with Willem Dafoe. And I looked this up. I think he's wrong. He says he hasn't worked with Willem Dafoe since Wild at Heart. And I don't think that's true. I think he was in a Willem Dafoe movie between Wild at Heart and this movie. When I looked at the IMDb trivia,
I know that he produced one with Willem Dafoe. So that you may be right based off of production credit.
I would count that if I was the guy introducing the movie my friend Willem Dafoe was in.
Yeah, but
he
as you
goes
said,
on.
it was probably his second glass of Francis Ford Coppola wine. At what I'm pretty sure was Frankie's Vineyard, where they were
Of
making
Uncle
amazing
Frank
waffles.
wine.
Yeah.
And
So
then
you know,
he caps
yeah.
it off by saying there was some chemistry, which is such a lukewarm. Oof. Yeah.
They have not
And
worked
then
together since.
no, I think this is their most recent
Yeah,
collaboration.
but
Hey,
who
maybe
knows?
Willem Dafoe. There is an upcoming, not to date the episode, but a pretty recently announced Nicolas Cage movie called The Carpenter's Son. That is a Jesus horror story where it looks like Nick Cage plays Joseph and that
Yeah.
Jesus is like Brightburn.
Well,
Um
maybe Willem Dafoe
ma-
will reprise his role as Jesus
yeah.
from
He'll
Last
play
Temptation of
child,
Christ.
he'll play kid Jesus and they'll
Jesus.
superimpose his big adult head on a kid's body. And
No, I think they're going to go the Baby Billy route from Righteous Gemstones. He's just going to
they
play
just
him full out.
everyone has to just believe that he's younger.
Yeah.
And then the last special feature
He
was
needs
a
$1
photo
million in
gallery.
cocaine.
Yes. So there's a photo gallery as well in the special features, which every time I watch one of these special features collections, there's always something new that I didn't think was going to be in them. And this is a thing I've not seen. Just to say set photos is wrong. They were stills just
Mm-hmm.
from the movie. And to call back to a moment that was just a slightly below crazy enough to bring up as part of the recap. When Willem Dafoe and Diesel meet Nick Cage's character after he gets out of jail, they apparently bought him a suit. And when he's talking about this suit in the black and white scene, it looks like he's wearing a very fine suit. Like one might say Humphrey Bogart could wear.
Mm-hmm.
And they cut to this scene where he's dancing in front of a mirror, not facing the mirror, dancing in front of the mirror, and he's in the ugliest
It's like
blue.
it's turquoise. It's
Yeah,
turquoise with a periwinkle blue striped shirt and a yellow tie.
canary, bright yellow, crazy yellow tie. And the very first photo in the photo gallery is Nick Cage just barreling the camera in this suit. And that moment is worth popping up in the special features. That. But otherwise, not impressive. Still hunting for the Nick Cage commentary track.
We will get
Hasn't
there
come yet.
eventually. You know what? I have a good feeling about Ghost Rider.
I specifically don't have a good feeling about Ghost Rider, but not because of the commentary track. Just feelings and memories are the reason I don't have a good feeling. But we will see. Well, that should put us at the end here.
I think
We have
so.
talked. Yeah, we have talked over all this.
Did we
I have
talk for the
two.
same length as that 93-minute movie?
I think we beat it. I think we talked for
Wow.
longer than the length of this movie, which is a testament to how much there is to say about how long this movie feels.
Yeah.
And
I also
but
want to just mention, like, because you said at the beginning, you said that we could revisit one of the questions on the survey, and I'm wondering if this is going to be the question. When you asked if this movie made me want to see more Nick Cage movies, I said 7 without hesitation. And the reason is because this one wasn't good, and he's made so many that I know that there are better ones out there.
yeah, we are on a downswing, but I'm shocked by how far this step down felt from where we have been.
Well,
Right?
and I'll be
Like,
interested to see what other step downs are much better than this one.
yeah. I mean, there are lots of movies coming up that I've seen that I know are on the bottom half of this list that I definitely think are not as bad as this movie. This movie was crazy bad.
I will watch The Wicker Man any day, and I know that one's below this one.
Well, that does sort of preempt my first question to close things out, which is, if you're interested in returning, is there a specific movie that you would like to watch, a Nick Cage classic that you want to see?
Well, Wicker Man for sure. I've got a little anecdote about how I actually saw that movie and just how much that movie means to me because of the way I got to see it.
Okay.
And I'd also be very interested in talking about Mandy, which came out and was sort of, I don't want to call it the Cage-assance, but it kind of revitalized his career and kind of exploded him back into really weird indie movies that, got a lot of acclaim.
Pig, Color Out of Space was the one I was thinking of that was sort
of... Yeah. So I wouldn't mind talking about Mandy, mostly because I really hated that movie. More than this one. I honestly may be able to tell you that I did not like Mandy more than I did not like Dog Eat Dog. Dog Eat Dog had the entertainment factor of Willem Dafoe, and I'm really thinking I need to, as a coach, write up what Willem Dafoe was talking about, all the steps he was going to take to relaunch his personality.
Well, if it works, it works. Well, I will definitely keep your name on the list for those movies. Hopefully, those are both because of how well rated Mandy is and because of how poorly rated The Wicker Man is. That will be some time. So hopefully we see you again much sooner than that. But I will leave the final thing. If you have anything that you would like to plug, a personal project, another podcast that you think is cool that other people should listen to, it doesn't have to be your own thing, but was there anything you want to leave us with?
Is this where I can turn to the camera and say, you should know this too? I've got a piece of hot sauce chicken in the back of my mouth. No. I think the biggest thing I have to plug is just keep listening to this podcast. It's such a fun, creative idea, and I'm really excited to be part of it. Also, I don't know if I want to pitch my coaching services after talking about this particular movie. Maybe if we had a little bit more time, I'd tell you all the questions I would ask Mad Dog as a coach to see if we could revamp that personality of his. I am on the side, a leadership and development coach, especially for people who are new to corporate or changing work environments and looking to make a change in the places where they work when everything feels like it's crumbling around them, which I think is a lot of us right now. So you can find me at makechangecoaching.com. That's about it, I think.
All right. Well, let's plan. This podcast does not have bonus content yet. So that'll maybe be a Patreon idea if I ever get a Patreon, where we can talk over a Mad Dog coaching session to see if we can get to the core of some of his deep-seated personality issues. Although he may respond negatively to what I imagine will be your first advice, which is stop doing cocaine at therapy sessions and at coaching meetings. But
I think that might be the first requirement is, hey, can you please come sober to this session?
Yeah, don't crush any rock with the back of a knife before you come see me. So with that, I will close with my own plugs. This has been the Caged Men podcast. We are recording new episodes that come out every 2 weeks. So join us in 2 weeks. We will be on the upswing next episode. So that is good news, we hope. And you can follow this podcast by going to Instagram. We are Caged Men Pod on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, which is also Caged Men Pod, and a TikTok that is Caged Men Pod. And if you have questions or comments or something you want to say about the show, you can send an email to cagedmenpod@gmail.com. Still working on the Discord being public. I need another set of hands on that who's done this before, because I tried to do it myself and I'm too old. So I need someone who's Gen Z to do it for me. So we will leave it at that by saying thank you for listening. Goodbye, and I will sign off by saying, have you ever been to Nice?